All right, hello. So back in Chapter 2, when we first discussed the use of scripts, I had mentioned that in previous semesters, I found that students like to use the run button to run their scripts. And so the run button works well, I said, for scripts and functions with no input variables. Okay. But now in Chapter 5, as we discuss functions, we have functions with a single input variable. And in the next chapter, we'll look at functions with multiple input variables. Okay, and so you just can't press the run button as we did before, but you need to change how you press the run button slightly. Okay, and so as I've mentioned before, I don't find myself using the run button a lot. My preference is to just type the command from the command window, but if you like to do things graphically, by all means you can. And so I'm just going to open up our function for Qbert. Okay, and so here's Qbert. So this is our function to compute the cube root of a number n, right? So our function has an input variable n. So my run button is still up here, but if I were to press it, right, I get an error message, because what happens is essentially when I press the run button, it's as if I had just typed Qbert, right, the name of my M file in my command window. And so I get an error message that there's not enough input arguments. Okay, and so the issue is our function has an input variable, right? It requires an input n. And so how we can run this with the run button is, okay, let me just make this a little bigger so we get all in here, is you notice there's an arrow down here to drop down to get more options. Okay, so when I just click run, right, what it does is it just types essentially Qbert in my command window. Okay, to give me more flexibility, right, for run, right, I can run Qbert, and then it knows it requires an input n, and so if I want to compute the cube root of 7, I can just type 7 in there and press enter, right, and then it runs it as Qbert 7. Okay. If I want to run something else, right, I could just go back to that drop down arrow, run as Qbert 8, right, and I get Qbert 8. Okay. Cool. All right, Qbert 9, and so say I want to assign that output to y, I could just type y is equal to Qbert 9. Bam, it's as if I typed y equals Qbert 9, and so now I can also assign the output to variable, right? And so it gives you some great flexibility. Maybe the number of interest, num is assigned to my command window, num is 10, and so now I want to run this as maybe SOL, my solution, is equal to Qbert of num. Okay, so you could still use the run button in a sense to run your functions with inputs, but as I find myself doing this, right, typing in, say sol is equal to Qbert num, it begs the question, why not just do it directly in the command window? Okay, so I see the run button being useful for scripts. All right, here's a script. Just press run and execute it. MATLAB does this magic. But when I start to develop functions, with actual inputs, and when I want to assign the outputs to specific values, personally, I don't see the direct use for it. But there you have it. That's the way to use the run button when I have functions with input variables.